Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Young here, and today I'm back with another Fortnite video. And in today's video, I wanted to make a guide on how to build for beginners in Fortnite. So if you guys are new to building or just don't know the key concepts that allow you to build very effectively in Fortnite, I want to share with you guys those specifically in this video. So definitely stay tuned to the video because there's a lot of great stuff to cover, and I will be showing you how to build and the best way to do it here this season. And real quick, before we get into the video, I have a VBuck giveaway. I bought a ton of these VBuck cards for you guys to have. If you guys would like to receive a card and enter the giveaway, all you guys have to do is simply drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell and drop a comment down below of either your Xbox gamer tag, PSN gamer tag, or Epic account. I will be giving out one of these cards every single Friday. I will share the screenshot of the winner in the video, so make sure you guys stay updated if you are interested in winning free V-Bucks. And lastly, if you guys want to support me in the item shop, just go down to the bottom right, hit on support a creator, type in creator code Young Humor, and you guys will have me supported in the item shop as a creator. And alright guys, let's get to the video. Alright, so in this video, I want to be talking about exactly how to build in Fortnite and the best strategy and concept to do it. And I'm also going to be doing this live as I'm talking, so my microphone might sound a little bit different to how my normal videos sound. I'm just using the microphone that I also use when I'm streaming. But just to get into the video and share with you guys exactly how to build in Fortnite and just the best way to do it if you're a beginner or just feel like you're struggling to build in Fortnite. So you don't need any type of flashy retakes. You don't have to do anything that's particularly crazy. You don't have to work on like crazy piece control to build effectively. There's only one concept that you need to know in Fortnite if you want to be able to build effectively against any type of player. And to show what that is, I would call it layering. And so how to layer your structures is really, really important. And what I mean by that is, say you want to go against a player or even 2 or 3 players if you're playing in squads or trios. And so you always want to make sure that when you're fighting them with your builds, that when you're building, that you're always layering as many builds and supportive structures as you can. So to make it as easy to understand as possible. So say, I'm just going to use this as the ground floor to make it easier. So say I want to ramp against another player. There is a couple ways that I can go about it. And so I could place a single ramp. I could place a floor and a ramp when I'm ramping up. Or I could even place a ramp, floor, and wall. And you can, this is probably the best way I can illustrate layering, is the more layers that you have, the more protected your structure is. Because if you have a floor and a wall, you have 2 layers protecting you from people shooting in front of you, and you also have 2 layers from people shooting underneath. So that's why it's really important when you're building in Fortnite to try to connect as many layers to your builds as possible, so it's much more difficult for the enemy team to shoot you out. And so this is going to be even more effective in something like duos, trios, and squads, still in solos because there's a lot of third partying and people do spam quite a bit even in 1v1s. But layering your structures is just something that's really crucial and important to master. So the first thing that you have to master is the ramp, floor, wall. And once you get that down, you really want to work on the double ramp, floor, and wall. Now this is probably one of the most crucial things you have to learn in this game because it is just so protective and just such a great strategy for building. There's just so much you can do off of it, which I'll showcase in a minute. But the double ramp, floor, wall is one of the most effective things to do against 2 people who are shooting you out, because it just creates so many layers beneath you. Because a lot of times when people are shooting at you, even in like a duo or trio, they're not necessarily focusing the same layers. And people could be from different angles. So you could have a guy who's on this side, or you could have someone on that side. So when they're shooting at you, they could be shooting at 2 different structures, which buys you even more time when you're building, and it takes them longer to shoot you out. So to do a double ramp, floor, wall, it's just like the first one, except for you want to get 2 ramps up and then you want to get your floors in and then your walls. So to show that again, you get your ramps and then you want to get your floors and then your walls. You don't want it to do the other way around. You don't want to place your walls and then your floors, because if you try to place your floors last, what can happen is you can throw floors above you. So it's just really important that when you're doing the ramp floor wall or double ramp floor wall, that you're placing the ramp first, then you're placing your floor, and then you're placing your wall. And so by learning these two building techniques, it's going to give your builds a lot of layers to them, and it's going to make it much more difficult to get shot out in game. So this is really effective if you want to ramp up against someone. But say for example, if you want to, say you already have the height that you want, because you really don't want to go too far above like where I'm at, because you don't want to be like 10 stories above someone, because then only your AR is going to be effective. You're just never going to do damage with your shotgun or your SMG from that range. So being 2 to 3 stories up on a player is just really great, and probably ideally what you would want to have. So say you get up this far and you want to move left or right. What I like to do to layer properly is I instead place a floor behind me, and then I branch out to the side. Now this is really good for a lot of reasons. This makes it really easy to connect all of your builds to one piece. And it allows you to be really versatile. It allows you to go left. It allows you to go right. And if you ever need to drop down, you can easily connect more layers here. And then you can ramp back up. And if you need to go left again, then you go to the left. And if you need to go, if you need to go to the right, and if you want to go left, then you can go to the left. So that's how I move horizontally when I'm building, is I would ramp up, and then I would just branch off like this, per se. This is really, really good. You do have to be careful with placing one floor. It's best to do something like that, where you can at least place 2 of them. Something like that is really good if you're trying to ramp hard to your right. And if you're trying to ramp hard to your left, you would just do the same thing on the opposite side. So this whole video is really going to talk about layering and just how to do it properly, because the most important thing is just connecting as many structures as you can get to your builds. So I showcased how to do it properly while going upwards, and then I also showcased how to move left and right. Now you can also, if you're moving left and right, you can also just do this if you want to. This is going to add a lot of protection to your builds. You never want to just place one, because then it's really easy to shoot you out and you're going to fall down and take a lot of fall damage. So whenever you're ramping above someone, you always want to have a floor and a cone. So you have 2 layers of structures protecting you from getting shot out. And so if you want to drop down, if you want to get down really quickly, all you would have to do is just waterfall your builds, and you can do that simply by holding down your wall and then your ramp. Now this might look a little confusing at first, but it is pretty easy to do. All you have to do is just look directly down, and then you would just ramp a couple layers and then place your ramp on the 2nd or even 3rd wall, and that's going to allow you to drop really quickly. But say you want to drop down a layer, but you don't want to fall down all the way, all you have to do instead is you would drop down maybe like 2 layers. Then you would do the same technique, but instead of a ramp, you would place a floor, and then you could easily just do this if you wanted to. That's one of the best ways to ramp down a layer if you ever needed to, because from their perspective, it's a lot hard to shoot. It's really hard to shoot you out from there without you being able to place another structure. So that's the best way to layer as you're moving down, is just by simply dropping down and then placing floors and cones. You got to be careful not to drop in the middle of your floor, because if you place a cone, it'll throw above you, and that's really, really bad. So you always want to kind of drop down and then be a little bit to the left or right side of your floor. Or you could even jump and then place. That way you don't place it above you. And that's a really great way to layer if you're trying to go down a layer, but you don't want to fall down all the way. So that's a really good building technique to do so. All right, so I basically covered all the layering techniques, all the basic ones that you would need to know to be able to use them effectively in game. But now I just want to put everything together that I've explained and give you more of like a practical way that I would use them in an actual game. So say for instance, I'm trying to ramp against a team that's over here where these bots are. So a really good way to, so if you're in like a 1v1, then you can start, it's completely fine to start off with something like a ramp floor wall. That's completely fine against a single player. But if you know that there's going to be multiple teams shooting at you or multiple players in like a squads or trios, it's usually best to start with 2 ramps and 2 walls. And the reason for that is you don't want to get shot at when you're building. And by having this at 2 ramp, when you're having these 2 walls and 2 ramps at the bottom, it just gives you an extra layer to build against another player. Because if you only start out with 1, then it's much easier to shoot you out. Which it's not a problem if you're against a solo, because you're only fighting 1 player. But if you're against 2 or more people, you want to for sure start out your ramp rush with a double ramp floor wall. Otherwise, you're just going to get beamed out instantly for trying to ramp up against them. So how I would do it again, so if I was going against multiple people, I would start out with a double ramp floor wall. If you're already on the ground, you don't need to place the floor below, of course. And then I would probably do that again. And then once I get to about here, I then gauge who I want to fight, right? So if I'm trying to fight the guy on the left, maybe I'm trying to fight the guy on the right, more than likely you want to prioritize the guy who's going for high ground on you, because more than not, unless they're just like really clueless, there's going to be a player who's going to try to fight you and try to build against you. And you typically want to block them off. So say, for example, the guy on the right wants to build fight me. So this guy is building up. I'll just give you like a little visual to make it a lot more sense. So say this guy's building up, right? This guy is trying to like do a retake on you, and he's over here. So what I would do, because more times than not, so say you're in a 1v2, or even if you have teammates that are just like, maybe they're just like not good and they don't help you, but so say this guy's ramping up against you, more than not, the players on the left are going to be shooting at your builds. So what you can do is you basically have 2 options. So the first option is to drop down and then hold your walls. But usually you're just going to screw yourself, because the guy on top of you here is going to get high ground. The best strategy to use in this situation would actually be to branch out. So you could either do this, or what you can do is you can just simply do this, and then you want to try to connect your builds to theirs. So that way, so if you happen to connect each other's builds like that, what happens now is it's basically impossible to get shot out, because then they would have to destroy these structures and they would have to destroy your structures. So that's a great way to play against multiple players, is when you're building, if you see someone who's ramping against you, you immediately try to connect your builds to theirs. And then you can use that to then fight these players, because these guys can never shoot you out and you have permanent high ground on them. So it's a really effective way to fight against multiple players, as you would build fight, or you would basically want to ramp over, but you also want to make sure you get height on this guy. You get height, you block him off with like a floor and cone, and then you can take shots at the other guys. Well, this other guy is just kind of bamboozled and doesn't know what to do because you blocked him off. Because then he has to like turn around, and then he's got to like do another retake. And if you just block him off, and then you can continue shooting at his friends. So that's a really good way to handle like a 1v2 against someone who's building against you. But say you're just in a 1v2 where they're not really building that much, and they're just kind of spamming at you. So what I would do is I would start out the same way. I would start out with a double ramp floor wall. I would probably do 2 of them. And then I always want to peek, if I can, I always want to peek on the right-hand side. Because if you peek on the left-hand side, just because of the way the camera is, it just exposes you a lot more. And also, you don't want to expose too hard on one side, because then they can both shoot you at the same time. So it's pretty good if you can maybe try to get like 1 or 2 shots on them if you're able to. And then, so a lot of times if they try to shoot you out, what I would do is I would actually just hold this wall here. I would just hold my wall out until they stop shooting. Or if I want to branch out to the left, because usually when you're fighting multiple people, you want to try to focus one player. So if I wanted to stay on the same layer because they're not building that much, I would do this technique where I'm branching out. Just like that. And I can use this technique where I showed you where you can ramp out to the side. and then just use that as like protection against that player on the left, and then just shoot at this guy. So that's a really good way to fight a 1v2 or against multiple players who are spamming at you. And if they spam at you, all you have to do is maybe just, you can drop down and do that, drop down, do this, and then build up again. So there really is a lot of different ways to go about it. It's just really important that you try to focus on connecting as many structures as you can and just giving yourself a lot of layers, especially at the bottom of your structures, just to make it as hard as possible for them to shoot you out. And just one last thing I want to cover before I wrap up this video is if you look at the different structures, so if I place a wall, my starting HP starts at 90. If I place brick, it starts at 99. And if I place steel, it starts at 110. So knowing this, if you're a little bit new and you do struggle when it comes to layering, is if you have any extra metal, you always want to start with metal because it has the highest base HP. Because these ramps, they automatically start at 100 HP versus the wooden ones start at 84. So it has an extra 20 HP, and it also has like 4 times the maximum HP. So if you ramp up against someone with metal and they don't instantly shoot at your builds, they're just never going to break this in time to really have a meaningful impact on shooting you down. So that's just one thing I wanted to point out in case you didn't know, that metal does have a obviously has a higher total HP, but the starting HP as soon as you place it is higher than wood by about 20, and this is up by like 10. And yeah, so it's just really effective that if you have any extra metal if you're build fighting with metal, it's a lot easier to layer and much more difficult to be shot out when you're doing this. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys found it helpful. I was trying to make this as beginner friendly as I could. Hopefully I explained some things and made it a little bit easier to build in Fortnite. If you guys could, drop a like, hit that subscribe button. If you guys are new, hit the notification bell so you guys get notified for every time I upload a new video. But with that being said, appreciate you guys watching the video, and alright guys, I will see you in the next video. Peace.